Hi guys, Greg Howe here, S9 Radio. Here is a fine example of an early 70s, late 60s Browning sideband only 23 channel transmitter called the SSB-15. I've just finished restoring this. It's all original, very clean condition. Looks to have the original light bulbs in it. The detent on the channel selector is tight and like the day it was new. Overall condition of the radio is beautiful. I've just finished recapping it using all top quality Sprague capacitors, new bias supply capacitors, carbon comp resistors where required rather than the newer style metal film that just aren't period correct. That's like putting a zip tie on an old 1932 Ford. It just doesn't belong there. Got a new firecracker style capacitor to replace the old multi-section 10 microfarad metal Mallory can that's no longer available. Got the proper high voltage, high surge capacity, high ripple current replacement for the original Mallory can. This is a CE manufacturing multi-section capacitor, important to voltage doubler circuits. They all be the same and very temperature stable. So there's what we've got. I'm going to put it on channel 23. So I've removed the channel 23 crystal, a little dab of silicone so the crystal doesn't get lost or misplaced. The VFO cable has been soldered in crystal socket, and the ground does not get stuffed into the crystal socket, which is a very common mistake on sideband radios. What that does when you jam the ground or the shield of the cable into the crystal socket, it runs it through the trimmer capacitor that's used for a clarifier, so the shield isn't truly grounded. So that's not the proper way to install a VFO cable, by jamming it into the crystal socket. As you can see here, I've got the shield coming to a dedicated ground, and that's really the way you want to do it. So anyways, I've got the VFO set to channel 38. I've retuned the radio out of the normal 23 channel spectrum to perform better up in the upper end of the 40 channels, which is where the owner will be using this with an external VFO. I'm using a Bird Tourmaline dummy load. I've got a custom made 500 milliwatt slug. Why? Well, you don't want any carrier on sideband. A lot of people look at it on a scope. I do that also, but I like this little 500 milliwatt slug, and you can see with no audio input, as I'm just using a push-to-talk switch here, we've got zero carrier, which is nice. You don't always see that. Balance modulators get out of whack, and they'll show a little bit of carrier. So let's get this 500 milliwatt slug out of here. The owner wanted to leave the old tubes in, which most tested pretty darn good. So now I've got a signal generator hooked up, injecting a little audio, 10 watt slug, once again going into a Bird Tourmaline dummy load, and better than 10 watts. Not bad for old tubes, and retuned to channel 38. So yeah, this old bird, keep an ear out for it. This SSB-15 should be showing up on the airwaves anytime, anywhere. Alright, you guys, catch you later. Greg, S9 Radio, with a really fine example of a 1970s, early 70s Browning SSB-15. Ready to fly the coop and go on home. The World Radio 79, Big Island, Hawaii, 388, Big Bear Mountain, Mile High Station, Southern California, on an old Browning 1960s vintage tube transmitter. Do you copy? Moving the beam around.
California, 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 California,
Okay, World Radio 79 mobile out there on the Big Island. Once again, I do appreciate the radio check on this half-century-old tube-type transmitter, putting a smile on my face. Figure that's better than a local radio check any day.
Me, Dave, Chino Hills, just walking past the shack and had the volume up, heard you in there, wanted to wave a hand, and I'm going back to the garage, but just waving the hand, Greg, 7-3.
Hey, before you bug out, Dave, how's this radio sounding? This is not mine. This belongs to Michael back there in Kansas, and it's a sideband only transmitter from the late 60s, early 70s. I just restored it, but we're leaving the original tubes in. They all test pretty strong. How copy?
I'd say that radio sounds spot on, very good. I'd say it sounds good. It's not overdriven at all.